Port Charles woke up buzzing with secrets on Thursday, January 29, as emotions ran high and truths hovered dangerously close to the surface. From a surprising young romance to a story that didn't quite add up and a confession that could change everything, the day unfolded like a ticking time bomb. At the Quartermaine estate, Danny Morgan wasn't having the best morning. His thoughts were scattered, his focus gone, and it had nothing to do with school. It had everything to do with Charlotte Cassadine. What started as awkward glances and guarded conversations had quietly grown into something neither of them had expected. Later that afternoon, Danny and Charlotte found themselves alone, the conversation drifting from casual to personal. Charlotte, trying to act confident, admitted she was tired of people assuming they knew who she was just because of her family name. Danny understood more than he let on. Being a Morgan meant expectations, danger, and constant judgment. In a moment that felt both sudden and inevitable, their walls dropped. The silence between them stretched, heavy with unspoken emotion. Then Danny leaned in, hesitant but sure, and Charlotte met him halfway. The kiss was brief, innocent, and charged with possibility. Two kids trying to claim a normal moment in a world that rarely allowed it. When they pulled apart, both were stunned, smiling nervously, aware that nothing would quite be the same again. Across town, things were far less sweet. Detective Nathan West was fielding questions he clearly didn't want to answer. His explanation about his whereabouts the previous night sounded rehearsed, polished just enough to raise red flags. Each time he was pressed for details, the story shifted, just slightly, but enough to be noticed. Someone was lying, and Nathan knew it. Left alone, Nathan stared at his phone, debating whether to make a call he'd been avoiding all day. Whatever he was protecting, or whoever, was clearly worth the risk. But in Port Charles, secrets never stayed buried for long, and the deeper Nathan dug himself in, the harder it would be to climb back out without consequences. Meanwhile, Britt Westbourne was reaching the end of her patience. She arrived at Jason Morgan's place with a storm behind her eyes and urgency in her voice. Britt wasn't known for vulnerability, but whatever she was carrying had become too heavy to manage alone. Jason immediately sensed something was wrong. Britt didn't show up unannounced unless it mattered. After pacing the room and deflecting with sarcasm, Britt finally cracked. She admitted she'd been sitting on information that could blow up multiple lives, including her own. She didn't give every detail at once, but what she did share was enough to make Jason's jaw tighten. Someone was manipulating events behind the scenes, and Britt believed it was only a matter of time before the fallout reached the people she cared about. She confessed she was scared, not of getting caught, but of what would happen if the truth came out too late. Jason listened, steady and silent, before promising that whatever Britt was facing, she wouldn't face it alone. His loyalty was unwavering, but even he knew that once certain lines were crossed, there was no undoing the damage. Elsewhere at General Hospital, tension simmered beneath the surface. Conversations felt guarded, glances lingered a beat too long, and everyone seemed to sense that something big was coming. The kind of shift you feel before a storm breaks. Back at the Quartermaine estate, Danny replayed the kiss over and over in his head, unsure whether to feel excited or terrified. Charlotte, on the other hand, stared at her reflection, touching her lips with a faint smile before reminding herself that nothing in Port Charles stayed simple, especially not Cassadine-related feelings. And Nathan? His phone buzzed with a message that made his blood run cold. Whoever he was trying to protect had just made a move of their own, and it wasn't subtle. As night fell over Port Charles, the city settled into an uneasy calm. Young love had taken its first fragile step, a dangerous lie threatened to unravel, and a confession had placed Jason squarely in the path of trouble once again. In true General Hospital fashion, Thursday ended not with answers, but with the promise that every secret revealed would only lead to bigger questions. And in Port Charles, those questions always come with a price.